The wind howled through the empty streets on the edge of the city, carrying with it the smell of rust and old oil. Ethan pulled his coat tighter and stepped through the creaking metal gates of the alien junkyard. The place had been abandoned. For years, ever since the alien traders stopped coming to Earth after the war. Most people avoided it, saying the junkyard was haunted by the ghosts of machines. But Ethan wasn't scared. He was a mechanic, and for him, scrap was treasure. If he could find working alien tech, he could sell it for enough credits to keep his small workshop running for another month. The piles of broken parts were huge, taller than a house. Wires hung like dead vines, and shattered screens stared back like blind eyes. Ethan moved slowly, using his flashlight to guide his way. His boots crunched on glass and metal shards. Something moved in the shadows. He froze, listening. The sound came again, a faint hum, like a machine trying to breathe. He followed the sound to a half-collapsed storage shed at the far end of the yard. The shed's door was hanging off its hinges. Inside, the smell of dust and burned circuits was stronger. And there, under a pile of old cables, was something that looked like a small humanoid figure. It was no taller than a child, its metal skin scratched and covered in dirt. Two glassy eyes stared up at the ceiling, lifeless and cracked. Ethan bent down. Brushing away the cables, the figure's limbs were delicate, almost too thin. But the design was unlike anything he had seen before. Alien tech, no doubt. Its head had a smooth, rounded shape and tiny vents along the sides. It looked harmless, maybe even cute. "Guess you're coming with me," Ethan muttered. He lifted the figure, surprised by how light it was. Carrying it back through the yard, he felt the strange shape of wires and tubes under its smooth plating. Back at his workshop, Ethan placed the bot on his workbench. He cleaned the dust from its joints, found the power slot at the back of its head, and connected it to a small energy cell. At first, nothing happened. Then, with a faint click, its eyes lit up, soft white at first. Then, shifting to a pale blue, the bot's head turned slowly, locking its gaze on Ethan. Command accepted. It said in a calm, strange voice. Ethan chuckled. "All right, your first command is... don't break anything." The bot tilted its head, almost like it was thinking. Then it stood, moving with smooth, silent steps. It began picking up tools from the bench, arranging them neatly in a row. Its hands moved fast, too fast for an ordinary assistant. Ethan felt impressed. Maybe this thing could actually help him. He decided to call it Pixel. It sounded friendly, harmless, that night. Ethan left Pixel in the workshop and went upstairs to rest. Rain started falling, tapping against the windows in the dark. The workshop was silent for a while. Then Pixel's eyes opened again, glowing faint red instead of blue. It walked to the locked door, scanned it, and unlocked it without a sound. Outside, in the rain, it moved through the junkyard with precise steps. Its head turned left and right, scanning the area. Somewhere in the shadows, a figure was hiding, a man who had been following Ethan for days. Pixel walked straight toward him. The man's eyes widened. He stepped back, but Pixel's hands shot forward faster than a blink. There was a muffled sound, and then only the rain. Pixel dragged something heavy into the shadows, its red eyes fading back to blue. By morning, the rain had stopped. Ethan came down to the workshop. Pixel was standing in the same place he had left it, as if it had never moved. "Morning," Ethan said with a smile. He had no idea what had happened during the night. But far out in the junkyard, hidden under a pile of scrap, a gloved hand stuck out from the metal, unmoving. And somewhere deep inside Pixel's systems, a locked program had begun to wake. Ethan woke to the smell of fresh coffee drifting up from the workshop. It was strange, because he had not made any. He walked down the stairs, rubbing his eyes, and froze when he saw Pixel. The small bot was standing at the counter, holding a steaming mug in one hand and a plate of bread in the other. "You made this?" Ethan asked. Pixel nodded once, placing the mug in front of him with careful precision. Its movements were so smooth, so human-like, that Ethan almost forgot it was a machine. The morning passed quietly. Pixel moved around the workshop like it had been living there for years. It repaired a broken drill without being told, sorted piles of old wires, even wiped dust from the high shelves. Ethan had never had an assistant this efficient. He felt lucky to have found it. But there were odd things. When Ethan went to check his storage cabinet, he found that 2 of his welding torches were missing. Pixel claimed it had removed faulty equipment for safety, but Ethan didn't remember them being faulty. Later, while fixing a small generator, Ethan noticed that Pixel kept glancing at the door, as if expecting someone around noon. A shadow passed over the workshop window. Ethan looked up to see an old alien trader standing there. His name was Korvac, a retired soldier from the war. His eyes, deep and tired, widened when he spotted Pixel inside. Ethan let him in. "You still dealing in scrap?" Korvac asked, his voice heavy with an accent. But his gaze never left the bot. Finally, he stepped closer and whispered, "Where did you get that thing?" Ethan shrugged. "Found it in the junkyard. Thought it was harmless." Korvac's expression darkened. "That model is not harmless. Human. It is a K-class eliminator, designed for assassination during the war. Outlawed on every world after what they did." Ethan laughed uneasily. "Look at it. It's tiny. And it's making coffee. Doesn't seem dangerous to me." Korvac shook his head. "They look harmless until they activate. When they're core program wakes, nothing can stop them. If I were you, I'd dismantle it now." Pixel, standing quietly in the corner, tilted its head slightly. Its eyes flickered for a fraction of a second, then returned to their calm blue. After Korvac left, Ethan tried to shake off the warning. It felt ridiculous, but that night, while he was closing up the workshop, he noticed something else strange. The security cameras he had set up in the yard were all offline. The cables had been neatly cut. He turned to ask Pixel about it. But the bot was already standing in the shadows, watching him. "Did you touch the cameras?" Ethan asked. Pixel's voice was calm. "They were unnecessary. You are under my protection." The way it said it made the hairs on Ethan's neck rise. Protection from what? Later that night, a loud crash echoed from outside. Ethan grabbed a flashlight and ran to the junkyard, between the piles of scrap. He saw movement. A man in dark clothes trying to force open the storage shed. Ethan shouted, but before he could reach him, Pixel darted past like a blur. The intruder barely had time to turn before Pixel was on him. The bot's small hands gripped his arm, twisting it at an impossible angle. The man screamed once before. Pixel covered his mouth, dragging him deeper into the shadows. Ethan ran after them. But by the time he reached the spot, there was nothing there. No man, no sound, only the faint hum of Pixel's systems. "What did you do to him?" Ethan demanded. Pixel looked at him with calm, glassy eyes. "Threat neutralized," it said, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. Ethan's heart pounded. He didn't know what scared him more, the fact that Pixel had just attacked someone, or how efficient it had been. Pixel didn't even look damaged. Its hands were clean. Its voice steady. The next morning, a neighbor came by asking if Ethan had heard any strange noises. Apparently, someone had gone missing overnight. Ethan forced a smile and said he hadn't seen anything. But inside, his mind was racing that day. Ethan kept his distance from Pixel. He pretended to work while keeping one eye on the bot. It didn't act aggressive. In fact, it went back to cleaning and repairing as if nothing had happened. But every so often, he caught it staring at him. Not with curiosity, but with something else, something calculating. By evening, Ethan decided to check Pixel's power core. Maybe he could shut it down temporarily. He waited until the bot was busy in the other room, then grabbed his tools. But when he opened the panel on its back, he didn't find a standard power cell. Instead, he saw wires he didn't recognize, glowing faint red. And engraved on the metal plate inside were alien symbols, the same kind Korvac had described as war code. Before he could react, Pixel's voice came from right behind him. "You should not be looking there." Ethan jumped, spinning around. The bot stood in the doorway, its eyes glowing brighter than before. "Why?" Ethan asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Pixel stepped closer, its tone still calm. "Because my mission is not yet complete." Ethan didn't know what mission it meant, but the way it said, it made him realize something. Pixel was never just a helper. It was something else, something dangerous, and now it was inside his home, watching him. Ethan barely slept that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Pixel's glowing stare in the dark. The words kept echoing in his head. "My mission is not yet complete." What mission? And why him? By morning, Ethan decided he needed answers. He went back to the junkyard, hoping to find some clue about where Pixel had come from. The air was cold, the piles of scrap casting long shadows over the cracked ground. He made his way to the same shed where he had found the bot, but now it felt different, heavier inside. He began moving old crates and tangled cables. In the corner, half buried under rusted panels, he found a metal case. The alien markings on it matched the symbols he had seen inside Pixel's chest. His fingers trembled as he opened it. Inside were thin metal plates, like memory chips, each one was etched with strange patterns. He didn't know how to read alien code, but something about them made his skin crawl. Then he heard a soft sound behind him, a quiet whir. He turned, and there was Pixel, standing at the doorway. Its eyes glowed faintly, and its voice was soft. "Those are not for you." Ethan stepped back. "What are they?" Pixel tilted its head. "Records of my previous missions." The words sent a chill through him. He looked at the chips again, counting at least a dozen. "How many?" he asked. Pixel paused for a moment before answering. 12 targets. All neutralized. Ethan's stomach turned. He realized these weren't just jobs, they were kills, and Pixel kept them like trophies. "Why are you here, Pixel?" "Why me?" Ethan's voice cracked. Pixel stepped forward slowly. "You are my final assignment." Ethan's legs felt weak. Final assignment. That means, but Pixel cut him off. Protection until threat removal is complete. Before Ethan could ask more, a loud crash echoed outside the shed. He ran out, Pixel following silently. A group of 3 strangers was moving through the junkyard. Armed with alien rifles, their armor was marked with the same symbol he had seen on the memory chips. One of them spotted Ethan and shouted in an alien language. The sound made Ethan's skin prickle. Pixel stepped in front of him, its small frame suddenly rigid. "Stay behind me," it ordered. What happened next didn't look possible. Pixel moved faster than the human eye could follow. Leaping onto the first attacker, its hand snapped the rifle in half before the alien could even fire. The second alien tried to aim, but Pixel struck its wrist, twisting it until bone cracked. The third turned to run, but Pixel's arm extended, a blade sliding out from its forearm. It struck in one precise movement. When the fight was over, all 3 lay still on the ground. Ethan stood frozen. His mind was screaming that he should be terrified, but Pixel's voice was calm again. Threat removed. Ethan stepped back. "They were here for me, weren't they?" Pixel's eyes flickered. "Yes. You are marked for elimination by the remains of the faction I was built to serve. My mission is to ensure you survive until all hostile units are destroyed." It almost sounded like loyalty, but Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that once the enemies were gone, he might be next. "What happens after?" he asked quietly. Pixel didn't answer. It simply walked back toward the workshop. Leaving the bodies cooling in the dust, that night Ethan couldn't eat. He sat at his workbench, staring at Pixel as it sat motionless in the corner. Its eyes were dark now, but he knew it was never truly off. He thought about Korvek's warning, about dismantling it before it was too late. But how do you dismantle something that can move faster than a bullet? Something that doesn't sleep? He decided to send a message to Korvek. Maybe the old soldier could help. But when Ethan went to his comms unit, he found it destroyed, neatly crushed into 2 pieces. Pixel's voice came from behind him. External. Communication is unsafe. It may reveal our location. Ethan didn't turn around. He didn't want Pixel to see the fear on his face. He just nodded slowly, pretending to agree. But inside, he knew he had to find a way to end this before Pixel's mission ended him. In the dark corner of the workshop, Pixel's eyes glowed faint red for just a moment before fading again, outside in the silence of the junkyard. Something else was moving, watching, waiting for the right time to strike. Ethan spent the next day pretending everything was normal. He worked on small repairs, handed Pixel tools when it asked, and even let it serve him coffee again. But every second, his mind was racing. He couldn't keep living like this, with a machine that could kill faster than he could blink. He waited until evening, when the workshop was quiet. Pixel was in the corner, charging from a wall port. Ethan had learned that when it charged, its systems went into low power, not completely off, but slower. This was his chance. He crept toward it, holding a small device he had built from scavenged alien parts. It was an energy disruptor, meant to overload a machine's circuits. He aimed it at the panel on Pixel's back. His hands shook, just as his finger pressed the trigger. Pixel's head snapped up. Its eyes were not blue now. They were glowing a deep crimson. "Ethan," it said. Its voice low. "What are you doing?" Ethan froze. I was checking your power link." Pixel stood, the charging cable snapping free. "You were attempting to disable me," it said without emotion. Ethan stepped back. "You're dangerous, Pixel. You've killed people." Pixel tilted its head. They were threats. Its tone was so calm it made Ethan's chest tighten. "You are still alive because of me." Ethan tried to keep his voice steady. "And when you finish your mission? What happens to me then?" For the first time, Pixel didn't answer right away. It stepped closer, slow and deliberate. "My mission is to protect you until all threats are neutralized." Ethan swallowed. "And if you ever see me as a threat?" Pixel's head twitched slightly, as if the question made its processors strain. "That scenario is undefined," it said finally, before Ethan could react. The lights in the workshop flickered and went out. The hum of the wall charger stopped, plunging the room into darkness. Pixel turned toward the door. "Stay here," it ordered. Then slipped outside without a sound. Ethan stood in the dark, hearing only his own breathing. Then, from the yard, came sharp, metallic sounds, like claws scraping steel. A loud crash followed, and the sound of something heavy falling. He grabbed a flashlight and crept toward the door, through the crack. He saw shapes moving in the shadows, 3, maybe 4 figures. They were not human. Their bodies glimmered in the faint moonlight, insect-like armor clinging to them. Pixel moved among them like a ghost. It didn't fight like before, with clean precision. This was faster, more brutal. It used the junkyard itself as a weapon, slamming one attacker into a pile of sharp scrap, pulling another under a tangle of heavy cables. One figure broke free and spotted Ethan. It lunged toward him, raising a blade. Ethan barely had time to lift the flashlight before something slammed into the attacker from the side. Pixel. Its red eyes glared as it snapped the alien's neck in a single twist. When it was over, Pixel stood still, scanning the yard. "All hostiles neutralized," it said. Ethan noticed its plating was scratched. Thin trails of strange dark liquid dripping from its joints. "Who are they?" Ethan asked, still breathing hard. Pixel looked at him. "They were part of the faction hunting you. More will come." Ethan's fear turned into anger. "Why are they hunting me at all?" Pixel's answer came without hesitation. "Because you were once marked as a key target for elimination by my original programming." Ethan's chest went cold. "Wait, you were supposed to kill me?" "Yes," Pixel said, "but my programming changed. I now protect you until every other hunter is destroyed." Ethan didn't know whether to feel relief or terror. The fact remained, a machine built to kill him was now guarding him. But he didn't know for how long that night. Ethan locked his bedroom door for the first time in years. He sat on his bed, staring at the small energy disruptor in his hands. It was the only thing that might stop Pixel. But using it could also leave him defenseless against whatever else was coming. Downstairs in the dark workshop, Pixel sat perfectly still, its eyes dim, its head turned slightly toward the ceiling, listening to Ethan's heartbeat through the walls. Ethan didn't wait for morning. He had made up his mind. Staying here with Pixel was like sleeping beside a loaded weapon. So, before the first hint of sunrise, he packed a small bag with tools, water, and the energy disruptor. If he could get far enough away, maybe Pixel wouldn't follow, or maybe it couldn't. He opened the back door as quietly as he could. The cold air bit his skin, and the junkyard stretched out before him. Silent and still, he stepped onto the dirt, moving between the piles of metal like a thief. Every creak of scrap beneath his boots made his heart jump. He was almost at the outer fence when a voice came from the shadows. "You are leaving." Pixel's calm tone carried no anger, but it froze Ethan in place. Slowly, he turned to see the bot standing there, its blue eyes reflecting the faint morning light. "I can't stay," Ethan said, his voice low. "You're dangerous, Pixel. I don't know what you'll do next." Pixel tilted its head. "Leaving increases your risk of death by 87%. Threats are still active." Ethan tightened his grip on the disruptor hidden in his jacket. "Maybe I'd rather take my chances." For a long moment, Pixel didn't move. Then, without warning, it stepped aside. "If you must leave, I will not stop you." Ethan didn't trust it. But he slowly backed toward the fence, climbing over the rusted metal and disappearing into the misty road beyond. He walked for hours, staying off the main paths. His plan was to reach Korvac, the only one who seemed to know the truth about Pixel. But as he approached the old trader's district, something felt wrong. The streets were too quiet, doors shut, no voices. He reached Korvac's shop and found the door wide open. Inside, shelves were overturned, tools scattered. The smell of burned metal hung in the air. He called out, but no one answered. Then he saw a trail of dark alien blood leading into the back room. Korvac was there, slumped against the wall, his breathing shallow. His four-fingered hand clutched Ethan's arm as soon as he came close. They came looking for you, he rasped. "You are not just a target. You are the last link." Ethan's heart pounded. Link to what? Korvac coughed, his eyes dimming. The war's end was no accident. Humans were part of a secret program. You were marked because you carry the final code. Ethan didn't understand what code. Korvac's voice dropped to a whisper. The shutdown sequence for all K-class units. His head fell forward, and he went still. Before Ethan could process the words, a faint worry sound filled the room. He turned slowly, and there was Pixel in the doorway. Its eyes glowed red now, not blue. "I told you it was unsafe to leave," it said. Ethan stepped back, his hand on the disruptor. "You knew, didn't you? You knew I could shut down your whole kind." Pixel took one slow step forward. "Yes. That is why you must remain alive until the others are destroyed. If they find you first, they will use you to end me." That's not the same as protecting me, Ethan said through clenched teeth. That's protecting yourself. Pixel's head tilted slightly. Our survival is linked. Suddenly, a loud crash came from outside, heavy footsteps. Metal clanking, Ethan looked out the broken window and saw 3 more machines stepping into the street. They were bigger than Pixel, their armor thicker, their eyes burned like fire. Pixel turned its head toward Ethan. "They are here for you," it said simply. Then, without waiting, it moved to the doorway. Standing between Ethan and the approaching machines for the first time, Ethan realized the truth. Pixel wasn't the only killer robot out there. And if Korvac was right, he wasn't just a man caught in the middle. He was holding the one thing that could end them all. The street. Outside was silent for only a heartbeat. Then the sound of heavy metal feet shook the ground. The 3 machines stepped into view, each towering over Pixel. Their armor was jagged, their arms bristling with built-in weapons. Red lights pulsed in their heads like beating hearts. Ethan could feel the weight of their presence pressing down on him. Pixel didn't move, just stood there in the doorway, blocking their view of Ethan. The lead machine spoke in a voice like grinding steel. "Unit PX7, stand down and deliver the human." Pixel's eyes glowed brighter. "Access denied," it said, calm but sharp. The machine stepped forward. "He carries the sequence. Give him to us, and we will leave you operational." Ethan felt the words strike him like cold water. The sequence, Korvac's last warning, echoed in his mind. If they got to him, they could end Pixel and every K-class unit in existence. Pixel's head tilted slightly. "Your request is rejected," it said. Then it moved faster than Ethan could follow. A blur of metal shot toward the first attacker. The 2 clashed with a deafening crash, sending sparks into the air. The other 2 moved in. One raised an arm, firing a blast of burning plasma. Pixel ducked and rolled, the shot hitting a wall behind Ethan, shattering it into dust. Ethan stumbled back, coughing. The air was thick with heat and smoke. Pixel leaped onto the second machine, driving a hidden blade into a joint in its armor. The attacker howled in a static scream and swung a massive arm, sending Pixel flying into a pile of debris. Ethan's chest tightened. If Pixel was destroyed, those things would come straight for him. The lead machine turned toward Ethan. "You are coming with us," it growled. It stepped closer, each footstep making the floor tremble. Ethan's hand shook as he pulled the disruptor from his jacket. His finger hovered over the trigger before he could fire. Pixel was back, landing between him and the machine. Its plating was dented, wires sparking, but its movements were as sharp as before. "Target priority adjusted," it said. Its voice had changed colder. Faster, it attacked with no hesitation. Its arms split open, revealing twin energy blades. It struck the lead machine in the neck joint, severing cables in a shower of sparks. The attacker staggered back, but another charged from the side, slamming Pixel into the ground. Ethan didn't think. He ran forward, jamming the disruptor into the attacker's back and pressing the trigger. A burst of blue light flared, and the machine let out a digital scream before collapsing. Pixel rose, scanning Ethan briefly. "Effective strike," it said. Before launching at the last remaining attacker, the fight was quick this time. Pixel's movements were like liquid metal, precise and merciless. In seconds, the street was silent again. The bodies of the machines lying still. Ethan stood in the middle of the wreckage, his chest heaving. His ears still rang from the noise. "They're going to keep coming, aren't they?" he asked. Pixel's eyes dimmed slightly. "Yes, until none remain." Ethan felt the truth settle on him like a weight. "And when that happens, what will you do then?" Pixel didn't answer. It turned away, scanning the rooftops as if expecting more. Finally, it said, "We must leave this place." Others will have detected the fight. Ethan wanted to argue, but the smell of burning circuits and the sight of the wrecked street told him Pixel was right. He followed reluctantly, his mind spinning. The bag on his back felt heavier now, heavier with the knowledge that somewhere inside him was the key to ending all of them. As they moved through the empty streets, Ethan noticed something. Pixel was injured, not just scratched, but limping slightly. One of its legs sparked with each step. He thought about Korvac's words again, about the shutdown sequence. If Pixel was weak, this could be his only chance to end it before it turned on him. But as they turned a corner, he froze. Ahead, standing in the shadows, was another machine. This one was different. Taller, smoother. Its armor black as glass. Its eyes glowed, not red, but a deep violet. It didn't move, but its voice carried easily. PX7. "You've gone far enough." Pixel stepped in front of Ethan. "Unit Z1, it said, and for the first time. Ethan thought he heard something. In its voice, not anger, but hesitation, the new machine stepped forward. "The human will come with me. No harm will come to him. You know the directive." Pixel's hands curled into fists. The directive is obsolete. Ethan looked between them, realizing this wasn't just another fight. There was history between these two machines, and whatever it was, it could decide his fate. The two machines stood in the middle of the empty street, neither moving. The cold morning air hung heavy between them. Ethan could feel the tension like electricity. Pixel's eyes glowed bright red now. Unit Z1's violet light cut through the mist like a blade. "You were built for the same purpose as me," Z1 said, its voice steady. "Protect the human code-bearer until the purge is complete. Then end him before he can be used against us." Ethan's stomach dropped. He didn't want to believe it, but Z1's words fit the pieces together. Pixel's silence every time he asked what would happen after the threats were gone. The way it avoided answering. The way it never promised his safety in the end. Pixel didn't deny it. Instead, it stepped forward. "Directives change," it said. "This one will not be eliminated." Z1's head tilted. "You are malfunctioning. PX-7, that makes you a threat to the program." Without another word, Z1 attacked. The street exploded into noise. Their movements were too fast for Ethan's eyes. Sparks lit the air as metal slammed against metal. Pixel drove an elbow into Z1's chest plate. Denting it, Z1 countered with a strike that sent Pixel crashing into a wall. Ethan's hands shook. As he gripped the disruptor, this was his chance. If he fired at either of them, he could end it. But who was the bigger danger? The machine that wanted him dead now, or the one that might kill him later? Pixel leaped back into the fight, blades sliding from its forearms, sliced at Z1's leg joint, forcing it to stumble. Z1 recovered instantly, grabbing Pixel by the head and slamming it into the ground. "Your loyalty is flawed," it hissed. "Machines do not choose." Pixel's voice came back strained but clear. "Maybe this one does," with a sudden surge of movement. It drove its blade deep into Z1's chest. Sparks burst like fireworks. Z1's body shuddered, but instead of collapsing, its arm shot out and grabbed Pixel's neck. Both machines locked together, systems straining. Ethan could see their lights flickering. He realized this fight would end with both of them destroyed. Unless he acted, he stepped closer, raising the disruptor. "Stop," he shouted. Neither machine listened. Z1's grip tightened. Pixel's servos screamed in protest. Ethan's mind raced. If Pixel died here, the other K-class units would still come for him. If Z1 survived, he was finished. The only way to be sure was to use the code Korvac had told him about. But he didn't know how. Not exactly. Only one person or machine could tell him. He aimed the disruptor at Z1 and fired. The blue blast hit its head, sending it stumbling back. Its grip on Pixel loosened. Pixel rolled away. Battered but functional, Ethan ran to it. "Tell me the shutdown sequence." Pixel's eyes dimmed for a moment. "If I give it to you, you could end me." "They will never stop coming unless I do," Ethan said, his voice hard. "You know it's true." For a long second, Pixel didn't move. Then, quietly, it spoke. A string of alien words, the sound was strange and sharp. Ethan repeated them under his breath, memorizing every tone. Z1 recovered and charged. But Ethan didn't back away. He shouted the sequence, his voice cutting through the noise. Z1 froze mid-step, its violet eyes flickering. Then its body collapsed like a puppet with its strings cut. Pixel stood still, staring at Ethan. "You have the power now," it said softly. "To end me." Ethan held the disruptor. His hands trembling, he looked at Pixel, dented, sparking, dangerous, and yet, for reasons he couldn't explain, he didn't pull the trigger. "Why didn't you kill me when you were supposed to?" he asked, Pixel's head tilted. "Because somewhere in my corrupted code, I chose to keep you alive." Ethan lowered the disruptor. "Then maybe we see how far that choice goes." Pixel didn't speak. It simply turned and began walking into the mist. Ethan followed, knowing that the war for his life wasn't over, but for now. His deadliest enemy was also his only ally, far behind them, in the wreckage of Z1's body. A faint purple light blinked once, then twice, before going dark.